Just some background before we go to Kristin Tate in the US, because New York residents are going to head to the polls later today, our time to cast their vote in the city's mayoral election. Socialist Democrat Zohran Mamdani is the front runner. Here's a little profile piece thanks to France 24.
The 34-year-old was born in Uganda of Indian origin and naturalised in America less than 10 years ago. He first made a name for himself by trying his hand at rap and kept this offbeat style for politics to hammer home his key proposals: free childcare for all, free bus travel, and above all, taxing the richest. He quickly earns the nickname Anti-Trump. Donald Trump is threatening to cut federal funding for New York if he is elected. A devout Muslim and staunch supporter of Palestine, Mamdani has been criticised for not condemning Hamas strongly enough.
So much to be worried about. His socialist agenda, a promise to take on the president, and his pro-Palestinian, anti-Israel stance. I put to Kristin Tate, there must be a lot of concern that this bloke is going to ruin the most important city in the United States.
Yeah, he's expected to win this race. And the fact that a socialist, anti-American radical is about to be elected the mayor of our largest and most important city tells you that there's a mandate for this kind of radicalism on the left. This kind of candidate speaks to the soul of the Democrat Party of today. The radical left has not been defeated, despite President Trump's fantastic and wonderful victory last year. This is a radical person. He is anti-police. He has called the New York Police Department racist, anti-queer, a major threat to public safety. Keep in mind, Chris, right now the New York Police Department's ranks are at historically low levels. The morale is so low there right now. Crime is up. Little old ladies are walking down the street and get targeted with random crimes. And this guy wants to completely gut the police department. He wants free buses for everyone that will cost about $1 billion a year. He wants city-run grocery stores. What could go wrong with city-run grocery stores? He wants to legalize prostitution, which would completely destroy the quality of life, or whatever's left of it in New York City. So this Mamdani would almost certainly destroy New York City and turn it into another burned out, once great city like Detroit. And it would be devastating to the United States to see New York City go in that direction.
It is so worrying. Now, there's all those things you outline, and of course the economics behind that. There's big social agenda, the massive spending and what that would do to the city's economy. But then there's also the social cohesion angle. We've had 2 years of horrible divisions in society in the US as well as the rest of the Western world on the back of the Gaza war, and where people have been anti-Semitic, where they've been attacking Israel, where they've been arguing a pro-Palestinian case which has been anti-West as well as anti-Israel. He's been at the forefront of that. He hasn't been a soothing influence. He's been on the streets ramping up the rhetoric.
Of course he has. And every time 9/11 comes up, which happened in New York City, where thousands of Americans died, instead of expressing sadness about that tragic event and all of the great Americans who lost their lives due to radical Islam, instead he uses the opportunity to make Muslims the victim of that. He is just so anti-American, but this is kind of the flavor of the Democrat Party of today. His rise tells you everything you need to know about the Democrats and what we can expect to see in candidates next year in the midterm, and then 2 years after that in the Democrat primary for the 2028 presidential election.
Yeah, it's just so reckless, isn't it? Let's have a look at what Donald Trump has had to say about this in his 60 Minutes interview.
Zohran Mamdani, 34-year-old Democratic socialist. He's the
communist, not socialist, communist. He's far worse than a socialist.
Some people have compared him to a left-wing version of you, charismatic, breaking the old rules. What do you think about that?
Well, I think I'm a much better-looking person than him, right?
But what if Mamdani becomes mayor?
It's going to be hard for me as the president to give a lot of money to New York, because if you have a communist running New York, all you're doing is wasting the money you're sending there. So I don't know that he's won, and I'm not a fan of Cuomo one way or the other, but if it's going to be between a bad Democrat and a communist, I'm going to pick the bad Democrat all the time, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's a complicated contest, Kristin, of course, not just Democrat versus Republican, because the former Democrat governor, Andrew Cuomo, who was knocked out of the primaries for the Democrats by Zohran Mamdani, he's running as an independent. Is he the hope for the side? Is he the hope for a sensible left candidate, or is it all over?
Well, I suppose he's the only hope the sensible Democrats have, which is really pathetic because he did a terrible job during COVID.
Yeah.
He's the one who was responsible for the deaths of so many elderly New Yorkers who were living in nursing homes at the time. But these wealthy New Yorkers who have been supporting Democrats for years are now seeing the results of the policies that they and themselves have been giving money to. And now so many of them are preparing to leave New York City because of what is happening. I was just looking at a poll before we went on air on the Daily Mail. About almost 800,000 New Yorkers of the 8 million who live there, 8 million people who live there, are actually saying they are most likely going to leave New York City if Mamdani gets elected. That would be pretty catastrophic for New York to leave that kind of population, especially since, as we discussed last week, the top 1% of New Yorkers pay 48% of the city's income tax revenue. So a lot of people will be leaving New York if this happens. And what's crazy about that is a lot of those people preparing to flee are the ones who have been supporting the Democrats and giving money to causes that led to the rise of this candidate and others like him.
Yep, we will see what happens. As you know, I was lucky enough to spend Christmas in New York with my family last year. I'm glad we got that one in before things went south. Let's hope for the best.
Yes. Yeah, New York's a great city, and I sure hope to see it, stay that way. I've lived in New York myself. I have family members there. It's a shining beacon of hope in the United States, and it would be so tragic to see it become another one of these burned out, destroyed cities due to disastrous leadership.
Thanks for joining us again, Kristin.
Thank you, Chris.